Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to Embracing a New Kind of Power. I had a little bit of a technology issue, which stuff happens. And it's not lost on me that in order for me to up level and embrace a new kind of power is to just kind of be in the moment and to figure out how I'm going to make this all right. So, welcome those of you who are joining me. Welcome to all of those who figured out that what the original plan was didn't quite work out the way I anticipated. Hi, Tracy. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to Embrace a New Kind of Power. Um, I was already nervo-sighted, and my tech issue made me a little bit more nervo-sighted. But we're just going to figure this out. And we're going to figure this out together. Um, so I've been thinking about what makes ambitious goals possible. I'm thinking about what makes audacious goals possible. What are the conditions that get put into place for things to come to life, or the seemingly impossible to come to life? Who are the leaders that make this so? How do these leaders make the impossible into possible? What skills do they nurture? What skills do they acquire? What mindsets do they nurture or acquire? How do these leaders next level and up level themselves? What do these leaders do that make the rest of us buy into the vision and say, OMG, I'll have what they're having? And then it's not so much what these people do, as you all know, it's so much as who they choose to be in that moment when they have the conviction and commitment to next level and make what appears to be impossible actually possible. The It's who they be that tips the scales, in other words. And what that thing is for their level of being or who they're being is their degree of influence. That these leaders have such tremendous raw power. We can think of any number of powerful leaders in this moment, whether with us or no longer with us. Catherine the Great had a tremendous amount of raw power. Steve Jobs, a tremendous amount of raw power. Thomas Edison, a tremendous amount of raw power. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a tremendous amount of raw power. Well, what distinguishes all these people is the strategic deployment of their power, which is what influence is, or what I believe, in other words, influence is. And influence for me is what is present for my inconceivable influence mastermind that I am starting in September. Now, we've all heard of ROI, which is return on investment. And there are many people out there that like to convert ROI into ripples of impact. Also great, love it because it speaks to concentric circles of how you show up and who you be in the world. Or return on impact, also a function of how you show up and who you be in the world. What occurs to me just this morning, and I'm looking at my notes because I just had this moment earlier today, is I'm talking about ripples of influence, which convert into return on influence, and how we can make that possible for ourselves. So let's break this down from the abstract. As many of you know, I'm on a 25-year mission to be the world-renowned advisor and coach to modern badasses, as well as the advisor and coach to those people who lead modern badasses. And if you are curious about what makes up a modern badass or what the traits of a modern badass might be, I've shared this link with you below that there's a decoder, there's an infographic there that you can download and unpack what it is to be a modern badass. And you might find some of those things in there that resonate very strongly with you. You might see yourself in there the way I might see you in there. So it's one thing for me to think or to conceive that I can be the world-renowned coach of modern badasses. It's another thing for me to have the courage, the guts to say it out loud. So I've gone from thinking to believing and then saying it out loud, knowing that there might be people out there that kind of look at me like this and be like, really? What's that? And it's a next level thing to have the courage to be it or to believe that I am it, even though I've stated that it's a 25-year mission, to be in this moment right now, to say that I am that person. Hey, Charmaine, I see you. Thank you for joining me. Now, how I be, if I say in this moment, I'm in this 25-year mission of being the world-renowned coach of badasses and the world-renowned coach of the people who lead these badasses, it requires the strategic deployment of my raw power. It requires me to develop my inconceivable influence for you all to say, that's interesting, tell me more. It requires me up-leveling my influence, up-leveling who I be, to convert listeners from doubters and skeptics into believers. And then next level influence, my friends, is turning these skeptics and doubters into believers, and then turning these believers into advocates, turning these people who merely believe and they just nod politely and they go on in their merry way to say, no, not only am I a believer, I'm going to tell everyone else about this too. That requires a degree of influence for me that is next level, almost, dare I say it, inconceivable influence. Now, the leading indicator of your ability to have an ambitious goal is your ripple of influence. I can't be without ripples of influence, and I can't be that world-renowned modern badass coach or advisor without everyone else's ripples of influence as well. And when everyone recognizes me as that world-renowned coach, an advisor of modern badasses and those who lead modern badasses, that is the return on my influence. That is ROI in the very best sense. Now, the leading indicator of your ability to have that ambitious goal come to light, as I've said, is your ripple of influence and your degree of influence, your degree of extended influence, your degree of inconceivable influence is measured by how quickly those around you understand and feel, more importantly, the skin they have in the game. It's measured by how well they evangelize and influence others on the shared benefit of achieving the goal. In other words, I don't have to be in the room for other people that are maybe second degree connections or third degree connections from me to understand their skin in the game and feel the skin they have in the game, because my advocates and ambassadors have really owned what they believe is true about possibility. What believe is true about possibility, not only in terms of what I'm trying to do, but also in terms of the ambitious and audacious goals that you all have in mind. And it's measured by consistent alignment with the strategy, whatever agreed upon strategy that you have with your team in service of accomplishing that ambitious goal, that audacious goal that you have in mind that you know will serve people so powerfully. So, influence is the strategic deployment of your power in service of whatever that goal might be. And what that means, not only for you, but for me, for everyone else, what that means is that you might need to shed old ways of thinking and being to get this to this next level place where you see your return on influence. And so, speaking of power, as I've been noodling and meditating on power, a couple of years ago, I got this really great book from Rich Litvin, The Last Word on Power. And because I've been noodling on power, because I've been noodling on my 25-year mission and what it takes to be able to have that goal, that mission come to life, the conditions I have to put in place, I finally picked up the courage to read the book. I knew that it was time. And literally, boom, in the very first paragraph of the very first chapter, this is what shows up in Tracy Goss's book. So this is the quote: "The power that brought you to your current position of prominence and responsibility as a leader, the power that is the source of your success in the past, is preventing you from making the impossible happen in your life and in your work." In other words, if we are contemplating the audacious, in other words, if we are contemplating embarking on something wholly new to us that not only will be a mind bender for us, and a mind bender for everyone else, what do we have to shed to be able to do it? And what do we step into to make all of this possible? I see you, Monique. Thank you so much for the love. So it requires stepping into what we know to be true about the opportunity, sharing that with other people, not necessarily within the context of what matters to us, but finding ways to make it matter to other people. In other words, using influence. In other words, getting people to really absorb what it is that we're communicating with them, as opposed to a in one ear, out the other sort of thing. Now, one of the things that I talk about in my book, Modern Badass Tales from the Leadership Front, is the distinction between speed and velocity. And why am I bringing this up right now within the context of influence? So if we were to go all the way back in the Wayback Machine to high school physics, one of the things we learned in high school physics was the difference between speed and velocity. Speed is the rate of travel, is what we learned in physics. Velocity is the rate of travel in a given direction. So for what we're talking about here today, the rate of travel in a given direction is what our goal looks like. The rate of travel, velocity in a given direction, is what our ambitious goal looks like. And so if we want to get to that next level goal, if we want to get to that next level ripple of impact where second degree people hear about it, third degree people hear about, fourth degree people hear about it, what do we have to do and who do we have to be to make that come to life? Well, it means that we have to be aligned on what the goal is. It means that we have to be aligned on what velocity is. And it's not only, it turns out, the rate of travel in a given direction, it also has to be aligned with what our individual values are. Getting clarity on what our individual values are, coupled with clarity on what that ambitious goal is what helps us get to that next level influence. So for me, my values are freedom, truth, justice, creativity, and loyalty. I always say them in that order. And I have found for me, when I'm touching something or remotely adjacent to something that violates one or a couple of these values, I start to get a little twitchy. I start to get a little impatient. I don't have as much of an attention span. And when it's not clear to me what a goal might be, or if the goal isn't clearly defined, then all bets are off. I just don't want any kind of part of it. I'm not engaged, and I may actually be a little disruptive. So when I have clarity on what my goals are, right, the velocity, and when I have clarity with what my values are, those two things together is what not only creates my ripple of impact, but it also a ripple of influence, excuse me. It allows me to help people understand and feel their skin in my influence game such that they can use their ripples of influence to tell other people about what their skin of the game might be and help those other people, those outer circles of people, feel the skin they have in the game. And so when you have a next level goal, when you have an audacious goal, when you see something so powerful in your mind's eye, sure, you've got all of the smarts, the natural abilities. I'm not here to doubt whatever your gray matter might be. That is so not the point. And I'm telling you, to get to whatever that audacious, juicy goal is, will require next level influence. It will require other people telling other people about what your goal is. That's how you know that it's working. And so why am I so passionate about influence as a general matter? It's not self-serving. Like here I am on LinkedIn Live and I'm pontificating and it's live streamed to Facebook and my YouTube channel. All of that's well and good. It is in service. This conversation about influence is in service of the people I love. And the people I love are modern badasses. These are the people that go 80 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone without checking to see if people are strapped in for the ride or interested in the destination. These are the leaders that are change agents. They are visionaries. They are pattern interrupters. These are the people that say, why not, instead of why. And yet, because they haven't conjured enough influence, or because they haven't strategically deployed their raw power to convert into influence, other people may believe that they are too much, too bold, too loud, too brash, or like bulls in china shops. And so they are seen as people being in tension, as opposed to people seeing them with their intention fully and sincerely. So that's why I'm going to kick off, I should say, my Inconceivable Influence group this fall. I'm really excited about it. These are for the modern badasses out there that want to be heard when they speak truth to power. They want people to say, I'm so glad this person is on my team. This is someone who is desirous of making change. This is someone who has an ambitious and audacious goal in mind. And what they're looking for is not only support in helping that goal see the light of day, and also they're looking for a crew of people just like them so that they know that they're not alone on their audacious journey. I'll share with you the link to the page a little bit more so you can get a little bit more of the details. I'm so passionate about badasses. And so before I've shared with you live examples of badasses, they're the Steve Jobs of the world, they are the Thomas Edisons of the world, and we know the impact of a Steve Jobs. We know the impact of a Thomas Edison, right? I'm not worried about us learning about Steve Jobs or Thomas Edison. I'm not worried about us learning about Kamala Harris. I'm not worried about us learning about RBG or any other really dynamic people, leaders out there. I'm worried about the modern badasses that we'll never meet because they've been sidelined or silenced, or that they silenced or sidelined themselves because they couldn't next level their degree of influence. I'm worried about the opportunity cost to society because we'll never meet them. That's precisely why I love modern badasses as much as I do. I see the potential for future technology benefit, society benefit, culture benefit, the arts, science, all the things, anything across any kind of spectrum of benefit to mankind. That's what I believe modern badasses are capable of. And this group is for those modern badasses who want to be seen, heard, understood, respected, and valued. That these are for the modern badasses that are trying to next level their return on influence, that they're trying to next level their ripples of influence, not only so that they turn the people around them and their vicinity into believers from skeptics, but the people in their vicinity can then turn the people in their next level, they're in the outer concentric circles, turn them into believers, advocates, ambassadors, so on and so on and so on and so on. There's so much potential that a disruptor and a change agent can offer all of us once they learn to strategically deploy their raw power and convert that into influence. Would love to have a conversation with you. If you're curious about what this program might mean for you, please do connect with me one-on-one, either on LinkedIn or drop me an email on my email below. Oh, and also I should say, if you're curious to see where you might fall on the modern badass spectrum, you can take my quiz. It's on my website, sixthsensestrategy.com, or you can navigate to this link right here to take a 7-question quiz. At the end of the 7-question quiz, it shouldn't take more than 1 or 2 minutes for you to complete it. You'll get your results in addition to an exploration. And as I said, if you're curious to learn a little bit more about the program, if you're curious to learn a little bit more about what up-leveling your influence might mean for you, I am 100% all in and committed to having a conversation with you. Thank you ever so much. Oh, Noble, thank you for the love. I just saw your comment. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Looking forward to connecting with you one on one. Be well. Take care. Bye.